if you follow my channel, you'll know that I'm massively into boots and denim. 6 months ago, I did a unboxing and first impressions review of these Red Wing Blacksmiths. I do like to do a 6-month update on all my boots and normally a 1-year update just to show you how they wear in and give you a bit of an idea about how they're going to perform if you choose to select them yourself. So we're at the 6-month mark. If you were watching at the beginning of the year to see that first video, you'll also have seen a video for these Ironheart 155s, or sorry, 555s. They've just hit the 6-month mark too. They've just had their first proper wash. Nice fade setting in, looking really good, great jeans, really heavyweight, 21 ounce. I'll be doing an update on those shortly. But for now, we'll just move those to one side and we'll focus on the boots. So these are Ironheart's Blacksmiths. They are in a fairly unique leather. Pretty sort of rare to find this leather on the Ironheart range. This is what they call their Spitfire leather, and it's a rough out leather. So effectively it's inside out. You've got the smooth side of the leather on the inside, and the outer is a sort of waxed suede. And all through my first video and the comments section, I've asked and other people have asked, how do you look after the Spitfire leather? It hasn't needed any care so far. It is starting to rough up and get a bit suedey on a couple of friction points, but really not too much at all. I don't quite know what to do with it. I'm wondering whether I allow it to go to its sort of a fluffy suede sort of condition and then treat it with maybe a silicone spray like you would a suede, or whether I need to wax it back down so it regains a sort of smoother sheen, which I quite like. But haven't had to do it yet. It is a really good leather actually. It's very, very tough. It becomes very soft and supple quickly. Obviously it keeps its shape nicely on the toe. But as I said in my break-in video, the break-in on these was pretty easy. Nothing like the 875s, the Octos, if you're familiar with those. Absolute agony with those because there's so much stitching and seams and bits which will fold and pinch your foot. But with this a single piece toe construction, the break-in was really easy. Almost not anything to discuss really. It was very, very easy indeed. Now there's something to say about the break-in in terms of I did subsequently put in some insoles, and that did present an issue because obviously it raised the top of your foot, and that presented quite a tougher break-in because your foot had to stretch, or my foot at least, had to stretch this area. So if you're a particularly wide foot or have a high, I'm not sure if it'd be a high arch, but the high top of your foot, these are quite constrained along there. It does take a little bit more work to break that in. In terms of the sole, this is the what they call the Vibram Micro Lug, and we'll come in for a few close-ups just to look at some details in a minute, but these haven't been heavily worn in the last 6 months. I've generally sort of done most of my walking and my commuting in Doc Martens, so these haven't been putting on miles every day of the week. But the Vibram Lug has started to wear down. It isn't massively hard rubber, but it does allow a very nice sort of smart, simple profile on the outside, very low profile, traditional look, whilst retaining a nice patch of good grippy profile. Now on these, for me, I'll be wearing this down smooth, but the texture will remain in contact with the ground all around the rest of it. So actually I think it's quite a nice happy medium of a smart formal look from the outside, but some good functional grip within the footprint. Saying that, the Micro Lug sole is nice, but there's a couple of quirks about it which I found quite notable, certainly starting these off in winter. The first thing is, all year round, this is a hard sole. It's really unforgiving. The solid heel block there, very solid and thin rubber profile at the front. These are hard for your feet. These do make walking every foot hits home. It's not a brilliant boot if you're going to spend your whole day on your feet. Also, because it's solid rubber and relatively thin at that, I found in the winter months heat transfer was quite a problem. They made my feet cold, and in the UK we don't have massively cold weather, to be honest, so I guess if you're in America and you're wearing these in the winter, your feet will suffer. There is significant cold transfer in these. So I did buy some insoles. They're very cheap Dunlop insoles, dual density, sort of a silicone and rubber sort of mix, and they're good. They really helped out, and they certainly took the impact out, and that was really nice. Certainly on the heel, that was great. Haven't been through winter yet, but undoubtedly they will offer some more thermal insulation. Now, as I say, it did raise my foot up, and that brought about a sort of second break-in, which was actually tougher than the first, because it wasn't just sort of allowing the boot to fit your foot and yield. My feet actually had to stretch this top portion. As I say, not massively well suited to a high or wide foot. So, what else to say? I think another notable feature of these is the laces, a thin, flat wax cotton. Other people had said these are quite short. Initially, I found them fine. Actually, the wax in the cotton, until it started to wear off, didn't really require a double knot on these, so I didn't mind the length. However, with the insoles, thicker socks, these are quite short. Over time, I think I'll change them out. They're not breaking, which I'm quite surprised, given that they go through sort of speed hooks and are pulled tight many times over in a given week. They're holding up well, but at some point these will be replaced, and I think I'll be going with a black leather thong style shoelace, which I think will look pretty cool, and obviously will bring a greater length. In terms of sizing, very much true to size, so even with the insole and a thicker sock, they are a good fit. I wouldn't size down, I never do. I generally find all my boots come in at 8, and if they're a little bit sloppy, simply thicker socks. Okay, so we'll come in for some close-ups. I'll pop them on with the Ironheart jeans so you can just see how they're looking at the moment, and then we'll wrap it up. Coming in for a few close-ups here. First of all, the leather. You can see it starting to sort of swayed up a little bit around the front there, a little bit on the folds, certainly on the inside here. Again, not in immediate need of care. Hasn't had a lot of water, rain, wet weather, but I do quite like the sheen, so I'd maybe like to wax this back up. So the toe cap there, keeping it shaped nicely. A couple of folds where it's conformed my foot. Welt construction, good traditional. Then onto the mini lug sole. You can see there's some wear on the profile there. Still got plenty of depth really in that, and the stitching is holding up. I think the stitching is just there to hold it initially whilst it's glued. Not essential. Obviously a gentle ridged surface texture. The heel is actually wearing a little bit more than the front is, to be honest. Very hard. That seems to be replaceable on its own. It's a separate piece, so if you wear your heels hard, that's always an option. Inside, you can see the smooth leather. You can see the insole in there. Well, that brings us pretty much to the end of the video. 6 months in, they're looking good. At some point they will need a bit of care, and it's still a bit of a dilemma whether I'm going to go with a a waterproofing agent or some sort of wax. If you've had these and you've treated them successfully, let me know what you've used. I think the soles are going to be holding out pretty well into the 1 year mark. If these were in sort of heavy use, I think I'd probably go through them a little bit quicker, obviously, but they're looking good so far. So I think we'll be into the new year and still having these look really good. Right, well, that's about it for the video. If you haven't seen my channel before, please check it out. Love quality footwear, denim, everyday carry, fountain pens, pen knives, cycling, guitar. Check it out, might share some common interests. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Obviously subscribe. I hope that was useful, and I'll see you for the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.